Thanks to anybody new that's here. So this week we're focusing on our nutrition, what we eat, okay? And we'll just get straight to it. Food is so effective, right? I mean, it's so intuitive. So it seems very basic in that, you know, we all kind of really know what feels good when we eat it and what makes us feel a little bit more sluggish or causes a little bit of digestive issues or anything. So it seems very basic, but in fact, nutritional therapy and using nutrition as medicine is a very developing science, right? More and more research is coming out yearly, almost monthly on some basis, on how effective food can be in your health. It can be either your medicine or it can be your poison, right? And it's to the intricate detail of certain foods can actually turn on specific genes in your DNA. So if you have a very specific gene for perhaps a predisposition to early dementia or Alzheimer's, there's certain genes that specific foods can turn on and off. Now, we're not going to go into that detail today, of course. Today, we're going to be focusing on how food really affects our mental health. But just so you know that this is something of the future, right? I mean, there's a lot that we knew in the past. There's a lot that we know intuitively, but healing through medicine or healing through food and using food as your medicine is the medicine of the future. So what you eat, it can affect how you manage your stress. It can affect your mood. It can boost your immunity. It can increase your energy or make you feel sluggish. How you eat, it can help you avoid chronic disease. And we all know this, like we know the cardiovascular disease and like how, high blood pressure or blood sugar and everything is affected by what we eat. But it's also autoimmune diseases, right? Certain foods can cause you, if you have a predisposition to have autoimmune diseases like Graves' disease, thyroid disease, or, you know, psoriasis, all of those are all related to foods. Okay, not exclusively, but it does play a major role in disease and chronic disease. And hormonal imbalances, a lot of hormonal imbalances have been normalized, like, oh, it's normal to have these very huge mood swings throughout your cycle for women, or menopause has to be awful, but it doesn't. That's just due to our hormonal imbalances. Fertility problems have become exponentially increased. And that's a lot has to do with how our food and our sources of food and all of our environment has affected our beings. So ultimately, food can help you optimize your health. It's not just fuel, it is fuel, but we're not wood burning stoves. It's not what goes in doesn't just come out and that's it. It's nourishment, and it can be medicine when we use it appropriately. Okay. So today, again, we're focusing on the mental health aspect of food, right? And that's because there's been an awareness that in lockdown, with all of this change in lifestyle and sudden changes, a lot of people are struggling a bit more with mental health issues, right? And part of that is the situation. Part of that might be because we've fallen into habits, maybe with our eating, that have affected our mood and our ability to cope. Okay, and briefly, the science behind it is it's amazing. So when you were an embryo developing into a fetus, you had this bundle of nerves, right, that developed. And then it started to separate, right? And it's all connected by one of the biggest nerves in your body called the vagus nerve, right? And the top bundle became your brain, and the bottom bundle became the nervous system that surrounds your digestive system. And it's a two-way highway. So we know this connection intuitively. We even use it in our language, right? Where our gut feeling, or when you're anxious about something, you have knots in your stomach, or if you're excited, you get butterflies in your tummy, right? So we use this even in our language because we know that this intrinsic relationship is there, and it's a two-way highway. So we know our mood can affect our digestion, some people more than others, and then they go down that whole IBS route, right? Or what happens in our gut. So if there's more inflammation in our gut, that inflammation doesn't just stay there. It goes up into the brain, and we experience it as brain fog, or irritability, right? Or if there's disruption in your gut, that can disrupt your capacity or predispose you to early dementia, right? So it's a two-way situation. And that has to do with your nervous connection from the very beginning. It also has to do with your microbiome, right? And I mean, the microbiome is the good bacteria that live in your gut, right? We have more good bacteria that live in our gut than cells in our bodies. So if we're just speaking about our physical selves, we're more bacteria than we are human. Luckily, we have a soul and a spirit that makes us more human than the bacteria, right? But anyway, so that microbiome works symbiotically with your body and produces a lot of the hormones that you need to help feel good. And it produces a lot of the immune resistance that you have against pathogens and bugs, right? 90% of the serotonin, the feel-good hormone in your brain, is produced in your gut. And 70% of your immune system is located in the gut. And that makes sense. You've been designed this way because if you think about it, your gut is basically a big long tube, right? And if you spread it out, and it has all these undulations, so when you spread it out, it's the size of a tennis court. That surface area is your contact with the outside world, with what you put inside your mouth, right? That's more than our skin, obviously, right? And so it makes sense that you have to have 70% of your immune system outside of this. And most of that membrane is just one cell thick. And it's designed that way perfectly so that when you eat your food and you break it down into all of its nutrients and its sugar, it permeates, it seeps through that one cell thick membrane. It goes into your bloodstream, and your bloodstream carries it over to the rest of the cells and organs in your body so you can use it for energy and nourishment, right? And also so that when your cells produce the natural toxins that it forms just through living, then that goes back into the gut and you excrete it. That's a very weak fortress. And so you have 70% of your immune system is all focused around the gut, so that when something comes that's a foreign body, or maybe something that's a pathogen, then your immune system can recognize it and attack it and get rid of it for you, right? But if we're doing things to our gut, like causing inflammation or causing irritation of that lining, then that barrier isn't there and your immune system is getting constantly bombarded. Or if we're disrupting our microbiome, the good bacteria, through overuse of antibiotics or over-processed foods or artificial sweeteners and everything like that, then that microbiome isn't there to be like, cool down, immune system, like, I've got this, I know it's a foreign thing, I'll get rid of it for you, don't worry about it, right? So it all works together. And so the immune system is there for a very good purpose, but it's also why a lot of disease begins in the gut. Because if we're constantly bombarding our immune system, that's our predisposition to a lot of the autoimmune diseases that a lot of people suffer from. Right? And a lot more research is coming out on this, but it's also a very old philosophy by Hippocrates. If we remember, I'm sure you've heard through science classes that he said that all disease begins in the gut, and there's definitely a science to that. Okay. When I'm describing how mental health and the foods you eat are connected, I break it down into 3 categories. Okay, blood sugar balance, hugely important to managing stress. The microbiome, I've touched upon it briefly, and there's so much more. I can't talk about it today. And then your immune system, there's certain foods that are inflammatory, certain foods that are anti-inflammatory, and that falls out of balance, then your immune system is out of whack, okay? So the main topic, though, that we're going to talk about today is blood sugar balance, and that's because it's one of the most common. There you go. Can everyone hear me? It's one of the most common problems that people have, and it's one of the quickest responses. If you fix everything in that, then you'll have a quick turnaround. So it's very immediate. It's very satisfying. So we're going to talk about blood sugar balance today, okay? If you guys want to hear more about the mood and the foods you eat and all of the other things, do let me know in the comments box, because if there's enough interest, I can set up a separate webinar for everyone, like after this series, or even like in the new year or something. So just let me know, okay? So how do you know you're on this imbalanced blood sugar? So are you experiencing a slump kind of around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Are you reaching for something sugary or salty or biscuity a few hours after breakfast? Or if you're feeling extra stressed out and you're craving more sugar, more carbs, more salt, those might be signs that you're on this blood sugar roller coaster. Okay, so briefly, just the basics so it makes sense what I'm talking about here is your body breaks down different kinds of food at different rates, right? So it breaks down carbohydrates the fastest, breaks it down into its different nutrients, and namely its glucose, a glucose molecule or the sugar molecule that then travels through that membrane and enters your bloodstream. It goes into your bloodstream carries it to the rest of the cells in your body notices the increase in the blood sugar level. It tells your pancreas release insulin. Insulin is the key that unlocks the doors to all of the cells. It pulls in the sugar and it uses that sugar for energy. Anything that's extra, it will store as fat. Not just fat in our bodies, but fat around our intestines, fat around our organs, around our liver. That's fatty liver disease, okay? So that's what happens. Or it stores it so we can use it later, which is, beneficial because we don't want to constantly be grazing, right? Carbohydrates, the body digests the fastest. Proteins, slower, and so there's a slower trickle of blood or glucose into the bloodstream, right? And then fat's the slowest. And I'm sure everyone's experienced this. If they eat a very fatty meal, it feels like it sits in the stomach longer. And that's because it does. It digests very slowly, right? And then there's two types of carbohydrates. There's the very refined carbohydrates, the sugars, the refined sugars, the white pastas and the white breads and the processed anything that comes in a package. And that spikes up the blood sugar very quickly because it just passes through the gut. All of this goes in and the body's like, whoa, release tons of insulin, right? All that insulin pulls it into the cells. And then it's like, well, we're not using this much sugar. So it then stores it as excess fat, right? And if you're not using that, then it just stays there and it sits there and it causes problems. Okay, and then there's whole or complex carbohydrates. So those are your vegetables, your sweet potatoes, your whole grains, your long grain rices, your wild rice, buckwheat, amaranth, all of those. And those actually have some more protein in them as well. And so they digest a lot more slowly. They release the blood sugar more temperately or the sugar into your blood more temperately. And so your body can cope with it better, right? Does that all make sense? Nod yes. Shake your head no. Okay, so ideally we're having a balanced meal. So we wake up in the morning, we've been fasting all night, and so then we eat a balanced breakfast. It slowly raises our blood sugar, we use it up, our cells are happy, we get hungry again, then we eat more, and it slowly goes up and down in this ideal range, right? Between 4 and 8 maximum, right? Throughout the day, up and down, right? More often than not, we're on this roller coaster, right? Where we wake up in the morning, we're feeling hungry, or we don't feel hungry because there's some chemical imbalances in the stomach. Again, won't go into that in detail, right? So we either grab a very sugary, carby breakfast, be it a cereal or be it just plain porridge without any protein or fats added into it. Or, some people might just grab a cup of coffee and that stimulant releases blood sugar. Releases your stored sugar and it spikes up your blood sugar, or coffee or tea, or even some people might just pick up a cigarette, right? And so no matter what, a lot of our tendencies are we reach for something quick and it spikes up our blood sugar a lot faster than it needs to, right? We feel good, we feel energized, we hop in our car, or we climb up the stairs to our home office, right? And then we don't use that sugar, so it's stored as fat around our organs, and we have a sudden crash because there's no slow digestion to slowly trickle it down. And then when we have this crash, we feel different things. Our body senses this crash here as alert, we are starving, right? It alerts our primitive brain, our autoimmune, our autonomic nervous system, right, to put us into flight or fight mode, And that's because you are technically starving down at this crash. Your blood sugar has dropped. You need to go hunt a bear and eat it quickly, right? So your body puts you in that mode. It releases adrenaline. So you might feel this sudden like anger or sudden need to go do something, or a sudden desire to go nourish yourself. So you go and you grab something quick that will rise your blood sugar again quickly, right? And you have that adrenaline running through your body. So you might feel either tired or crabby, or you might feel on edge, maybe an email that you would have gotten otherwise not really irritating or overwhelming, but you suddenly feel really overwhelmed by it. You're not coping well, right? And then the sustained stress response is your body also releases cortisol. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard the word cortisol. So that's the stress hormone, right? And so you've released adrenaline for that immediate effect, right? Your heart starts racing. You get maybe a little bit like, oh, I gotta go do something. And then your body also releases cortisol. So you go, you grab something quick to spike your blood sugar. Intuitively, you know you need that carb load. And then your blood sugar spikes again. You feel temporarily well, but again, the same cycle goes down. And so if you're having repeated experiences of your fight or flight syndrome going on through the day, then you might feel more irritability, more mood swings, feeling a little bit of anxiety, or this also causes a lot of headaches. So you might get frequent headaches throughout the day and that you can't knock down. Okay, so that's your fight or flight syndrome, and then also your cortisol. So if you're constantly releasing cortisol in bursts throughout the day, your adrenals are being overworked. And cortisol, if it's high over a longer period of time, that causes a lot of health problems, right? It's what causes the abdominal obesity that's associated with cardiovascular disease. It's what causes fatty liver. So a lot of people think fatty liver is because they're eating too much fat, but it's not. It's because of too much sugar or too many refined sugars and going up and down on this blood sugar roller coaster, right? Sugar is the problem here. The prolonged cortisol causes insulin resistance. So that's pre-diabetes into diabetes, because eventually your body's going to be like, why do I keep having these sudden surges of sugar? I can't keep up. I can't release enough insulin. And that's when sugar stays in your bloodstream and it causes the stiffening of the arteries. It causes a lot of the predispositions to having cardiovascular events like heart attacks and strokes, and causes a lot of inflammation in the whole body, right? Okay, because sugar is irritating. It basically caramelizes in your body, right? And that's not nice. Imagine that, you know? And prolonged levels, high levels of cortisol cause the high blood pressure. It suppresses your immune system. People experience it as depression, anxiety, panic disorder. You know, if you're feeling this at nighttime, right? Cortisol suppresses your melatonin, which is your sleep hormone. So if you're having kind of a sugary, not well-balanced dinner, sometime around 1 or 2 o'clock, if you experience waking up suddenly and you feel a little bit panicky and you're like, why? I was just asleep. What's going on? It's probably because your blood sugar dropped, your cortisol rose, it suppressed your melatonin, and it woke your body up. And it's like, go hunt a bear, go find something to eat, because we're gonna starve, you know. And that's not your reality. That's just when we're not treating our bodies the way that they've designed to be, and treating them with respect, because because of the conveniences of processed foods, or the habits that we get into, right? Okay, so maybe y'all have been fine, and then all of a sudden lockdown happens, and you've gained the COVID-19, or you've grown your corona loaf, right? And that's probably because you're experiencing more cortisol levels because of increased stress in general, but also maybe because you're riding the blood sugar roller coaster. Okay, so look at these series of symptoms. If you're experiencing any of them, this is something that you might want to pay attention to and do the action steps that we're talking about now. Okay, food cravings, energy crashes, digestive problems, tension, anxiety, frequent headaches, exacerbation if you have eczema, asthma, sinusitis, maybe those have been getting worse. Okay, and then of course, high blood pressure, diabetes, and metabolic syndrome, right? Brain fog. Brain fog is huge with blood sugar. Okay, there's good news. It's 100% solvable through what you eat. So, I'm sorry, the videos are in my way. So, okay, so how to eat. Don't skip meals, eat your breakfast. portion control. Small meals 3 or 4 times a day. Always include a high quality protein and a healthy fat in every meal and snack. And I'll talk more about what those are in a second. High fiber foods. Fiber slows down your digestion, and it helps slow down the spikes in your blood sugar. Okay. Try meal prepping. Okay, so it's still convenient for you, but it's whole nourishing foods, not packaged food. And check labels, because especially health foods, because health foods are the biggest culprit of this. It's like called protein bar, and it's full of like either artificial sugars or artificial sweeteners, or tons of stuff that you don't need. Yogurts often have sugar in them if you're not checking the labels, the flavors. Sauces, like pasta sauces and stuff, breads, deli meats, they all have sugar in it. It's actually like insane. If you start looking at labels in the shops, you'll see breads, normal bread has sugar in it, right? So you're being exposed to chronic amounts of sugar. So no wonder we all feel this need for it. No wonder people literally go through withdrawal symptoms when they stop sugar. The good thing is that it goes away within 7 days, those withdrawal symptoms, right? Try to limit your stimulants, because these do spike your blood sugar as well. You still enjoy them, but not like as a replacement for food, or like 5 or 6 times a day. And practice mindful eating, because that helps you limit your portions. It helps you focus on what you're eating, and your body digests it a lot better, because when you're just calm and relaxed, you're in your rest and digest parasympathetic mode and not in your fight or flight sympathetic mode, okay? And that helps you absorb the nutrients in your food. So the quality proteins: nuts, beans, quinoa, tofu, lentils, chickpeas, lean meat, poultry, eggs, fish, even buckwheat, oats, Greek yogurt. Those all have protein in them, and they're good proteins for you, okay? Complex carbohydrates. So all vegetables and fruit are complex. They have fiber with them. They're great. Replace the white rices and everything with the brown rice, the whole grain, the long grain, the wild rices. Okay, healthy fats. Those are really good, because not only do they help slow down your digestion and slow down the release of sugar in your blood, but it's also a very anti-inflammatory food, okay? And so avocados, olive oil, nuts and seeds, fish, the fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines, and all, those are really good for you, okay? Try to increase the amount of magnesium that you get in your day. Okay, and that's the dark green leafy vegetables, pumpkin seeds, avocados, dark chocolate. So magnesium helps regulate your blood sugar. It also is a very relaxing mineral, okay? It relaxes muscle tension. That's why Epsom salts have magnesium in them, and we find that really relaxing, because your body is absorbing that magnesium. It relaxes the muscle. It relaxes the brain. So if anxiety, tension is something that you're experiencing, focus on magnesium intake, okay? Chromium really helps with blood sugar. You find it in broccoli, green beans, dark green vegetables, poultry, eggs, cinnamon. So if you're having porridge, add cinnamon on top. That helps release the sugars from the porridge more slowly. Add chia seeds, add pumpkin seeds, add nuts to it, make it really nice. Add some fresh fruit, and all of a sudden you have a very well-balanced breakfast, right? And then foods rich in vitamin C. Low vitamin C in certain cultures that get low vitamin C have higher rates of diabetes. Also, it supports your immune system. Your stress hormone absorbs a lot of your vitamin C. Cortisol uses vitamin C, and so it helps support your adrenals as well. Okay, so that's obviously from citrus foods. Okay, a lot of people might have more trouble. Some people might have more trouble than others on busting sugar cravings. So if you're feeling that you're trying to do your best, but you really need that sugar craving, focus on your stress management techniques that we talked about in the first 2 weeks, but also try some of these. Try taking an Epsom salt bath, okay? That magnesium will help you. Just knowing that you're craving the sugar, but in about 20 minutes, that craving will go away is really helpful. So just do something distracting, work on a crossword puzzle, or do something that's going to distract you from the craving, and it'll go away. And know that within 7 days after cutting out a lot of sugar from your diet, especially those hidden sugars, you're going to start craving it less. You're going to start actually tasting it and finding it repulsive. They did a study where they gave people two groups of people a slice of chocolate cake, and they were like, yeah, whatever, this is fine. And they both had the same response. And then one group stopped sugar completely. So the next week, they gave them both the same slice of chocolate cake. And the group that didn't cut out sugar was like, yep, this is the same chocolate cake. And the other one was like, why did you add more sugar to this? By like a month of doing this, the people that cut out sugar were like, I can't even eat this chocolate cake. It's way too sweet. It tastes repulsive. And the other group was still eating it. You see, so you're changing your taste buds. And that's why I always recommend that when you're cutting out sugar or bringing down your sugar levels, avoid artificial sweeteners. Aside from the fact that artificial sweeteners totally disrupt your healthy microbiome. They wreak havoc on your nerves. They're horrible for you, but they also hack your taste buds. And so you continue to want that sweet taste because of the artificial flavoring. And obviously then you're going to eventually seek the real sugar as well. Okay. Always try to keep quality protein, carbs, and fats in the house, and try to meal prep, okay, or snack prep, and I'll give you some examples in a minute. If nothing else is working, dark chocolate is great. It's rich in, it has chromium and magnesium in it, and so it helps actually. If you're having small amounts of dark chocolate, it doesn't help with blood sugar problems, but at least like the dark chocolate within itself isn't going to spike your blood sugar as much, okay, because it has the other minerals to combat it, okay. And stay positive and confident, because again, this is the one greatest thing that will help you in many arenas of your health, in your stress management and in preventing early dementia, preventing fatty liver disease, preventing metabolic syndrome with the heart attacks, strokes, and all that, okay? Preventing autoimmune problems, preventing horrible, hormonal imbalance symptoms, okay? So we're going to set our smart action steps. So I asked you guys to have pencil and paper ready. This is why. So we remember our smart action steps from last week, right? They're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely or time bound, right? So when I say eat quality protein or healthy fat with every meal and snack, what do you actually need to make that happen? So you need a quick, healthy protein or health fat snacks available in the house. Examples are nuts, hummus, Greek yogurt, seeds, and potentially you might need to meal prep and pre-cook some lean proteins like chicken breast and fish and tempeh and tofu, or beans and legumes, and have those in the fridge ready to get. Make it as convenient as a bag of crisps for yourself, okay? So your smart action goal might look like, when I say eat quality protein or a healthy fat with every meal and snack, it might look like something specific. I will eat almonds for my mid-morning snack. How many? 6 to 8. What time? Probably around 10 or 11, depending on what time I eat lunch and what time I eat breakfast. I'll make it achievable because I'll probably still be hungry really after just 6 almonds, so I'll include a piece of fruit in it, right? I'll enjoy it more. And it's relevant because the almonds have protein in it, it has a healthy fat in it, and it's a complex carbohydrate as well, because the fruit in itself and the almond has fiber in it, right? And then I'm going to do this for the next week and see how I get on. So what's your smart action step to eat quality protein or healthy fat with every meal or snack? One of them can be, I will eat 6 to 8 almonds with a green apple for my mid-morning snack every day for the next 7 days. And then you make your little tick boxes and you tick, tick, tick when you do this, right? Here's another example. Choose complex whole carbohydrates over processed and refined carbohydrates. What do you need to do? You might, again, need to meal prep, pre-cut your vegetables for the week. Choose, when you're at the shops, choose whole grain, brown, wild rice. If you're doing gluten-free, don't choose the gluten-free breads and think it's low carb. It's usually not. It's loaded with sugar and it's still refined. Choose, if you're doing a gluten-free pasta, choose the buckwheat pasta. Or the brown rice pasta, for example. Okay, choose whole wheat over and whole grain. Avoid pre-packaged snacks. Just don't buy them. Don't bring them in the house and check your labels, right? Always check your labels. So a smart action step will be specific. I will replace my slice of toast or my roll or my starchy white potatoes that I have. Oh, I spelled potatoes wrong. Sorry. With my dinner with sweet potato with the skin on. More nutrients, more fiber. It's still a lot of carbs. It's still very satisfying from the carbies perspective, but it's got more fiber and nutrients to offset it, right? It's measurable. I'll do this one serving, one time in the week. And it's achievable because it's just once and it's still a nice carb. It's relevant because I told you why. It has more fiber, it's not processed, no added sugars. Most breads and rolls do. And it's time bound for the next week, right? So I will replace my bread, roll, or toast with a serving of roasted sweet potato as a side to my protein and vegetable meal one time this week. Or I will replace my crisp snack with pre-cut carrots and bell peppers dipped in hummus or dipped in Greek yogurt 3 times this week. Do you see how these changes can be made? And they're very realistic and very achievable if you set them to be. Does that make sense? Set yourself up for success. Remember, it's little by little, day by day. Use your smart action steps. Prepare your meals and snacks in advance. Enlist support from this community. Come on the Facebook page, write down your smart action steps or give your snack ideas or your meal ideas. I will share recipes, some of my favorite recipes online this week to help you out. And it's about your mindset. This is something you're doing for your long-term health. This isn't just for the period of lockdown. This isn't a crash diet. This is something that is a lifestyle that you'll be thankful for when you're 80 and not suffering from diseases and dementia and all that. And you'll be thankful for it like today and tomorrow when you're not like super mood swingy and anxious and irritable. So win-win. Okay. That's